Oh, well, good evening, and again, thank you for the opportunity to spend about 10 minutes with you, 10 to 15 minutes. What I'd like to do is give you a perspective of where Duke Energy's smart grid program, you'll notice on this intro slide, says grid modernization, and over the last probably 12 months or so, we've started to kind of adjust how we are publicly branding the program, going from the smart grid nomenclature and moniker more to grid modernization. Because it's been an interesting, if you think about what Brian just said, this whole concept of how you have to educate your stakeholders, anything that has the term smart in it is a great setup at the end of the day, could either be a boon or a bane, so we've started to transition that terminology. Talk to you a little bit about that and how we see the advantage of where the plug-in electric vehicle comes in and how we believe it truly is an advancement and a game changer for us. At the end of the day, really what we're doing from a utility perspective is building a two-way digital communications network across the transmission and distribution system all the way down to the customer's premise, whether it's a residential customer, a mid-market, or a large commercial industrial customer. So it's all about building out that digital communications network to enable the connection of all these digitally enabled devices. And at the end of the day, you know, people ask, has the grid really been dumb for over 100 years? Not really. I mean, there's a lot of intelligence there, particularly at the transmission level, and you're starting to see that intelligence move down to the distribution side and back to the customer. So down at the lower left-hand corner on this slide, you'll notice that the communications network really is the foundation of being able to bring all of this digital capability together. Historically in the utility sector, most utilities have built out their own private networks to be able to connect things for reliability and availability. From a Duke perspective, we're trying to leverage as much of a third-party public communications infrastructure as we can. Doesn't make sense for us to build that network out when that network is available and let's use the bandwidth and the capability that's there. It's better for our customers, it's better for the environment, and it's much, much better for all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. There's a lot of enabling technology work you have to do. As I look at it, whether you're tying in smart meters, which is the advanced meter infrastructure, or the connectivity back to the transmission and distribution system, bringing this network together to create that two-way conversation, it's all about getting access to that data and information that makes the utility and the customer better prepared to take advantage of what's next. There's no doubt that we're in a rising cost environment. The Duke service territories that we're in, North, South Carolina, Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio, we're very fortunate that we have some very competitive power prices, but the continued pressure of bringing those prices up, we have to have this capability in place to find ways to mitigate that. The last two components at the top is we're doing a lot of work across each of our jurisdictions to put more digitally enabled meters at the customer's location and premise, and also more automation on the distribution side of the equation. Over to the right-hand side, you'll just see a representative example of both the system-related benefits that we get as well as the customer-facing, what we call beyond the meter benefits, and these are just representative. These are not exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination. On the system side, there's no doubt that everyone in this room, whether you're a customer of a local utility or you work for a large company that's dependent upon electricity, gas, or whatever, the expectation is that you have to have almost 5 nines of reliability. That is non-negotiable anymore. This technology is going to enable us to be able to continue to meet that and exceed that capability and expectation as time progresses. We're one of the last industries, unfortunately, that when your power is out, you or someone in your either your home or your business have to call us to let us know the power is out. And that's just not an acceptable thing in the 21st century. So it will help us a lot in terms of how we are able to detect and manage and respond to outages at the end of the day. On the customer-facing side, it's kind of interesting. If I think of it from a residential customer perspective in particular, the two times that you typically interface with your utility are two situations that are not very pleasing to you. Either your power's out or you have an issue with your bill. And at the end of the day, we want to change that conversation by having that interaction with the customer so that we can provide more granular information about how we as customers use the product of electric, gas, or other parts of energy so that we can engage in that conversation and provide different options to enable customers to use our product hopefully more responsibly and not necessarily when you have to, but when you need to at the end of the day. So you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner just various aspects that we hope to deliver over time to customers. We're doing quite a bit in the pluggable electric vehicle space. I won't read through each of these for you, but you'll see across all of our 5 state jurisdictions we have a number of pilot initiatives where we're working either with OEMs, with regulatory bodies, with other third parties in this space. And in essence, we're trying to learn several things. Number one is, what is it going to take to get not only our customers educated about what this technology can do, but how do you go about getting charging infrastructure in place? How do you get it permitted? Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to operate and maintain it? How do you determine the right density of charging infrastructure? How do you help educate customers when they come into the showroom and they want to buy one of these vehicles? Who's really going to take responsibility for ensuring that charging infrastructure gets in place? So there's a huge educational component associated with this that the folks on my team, Jessica Bishop, who's here if you have a chance to meet her, she manages our overall electric vehicle program from a deployment standpoint. Just a huge opportunity to get educated around this. And the other part of it is there's been a tremendous amount of hype about, depending upon the penetration of these electric vehicles, is what does it do to the distribution system? Where do you create overload situations? Where do you create reliability situations? So the other part of what we're trying to test as a part of these pilots is understanding what the impact to the infrastructure is. We're going through and educating regulatory bodies in the various states that we're in, consumer groups, consumer advocates, because there's just a huge interest here, but there's also somewhat of a huge unknown and a huge fear. So again, we're fortunate to be able to work across these dimensions, and I'd say we're early on in the stages of getting enough of this infrastructure in place to really do some good lessons learned. So if you think about it, I want to kind of show you kind of an evolving way that we're looking at how these electric vehicles really create a unique opportunity. I've already mentioned that a big part of what we're doing is getting the communications infrastructure in place to connect all of this capability. Advanced metering is enabling us to have a different conversation with the customer than we've had before, being able to give them visibility on a near real-time basis of what their usage is so that they don't have to wait 30 to 45 days after they use our product to know what the bill is all about. We've already heard referenced energy storage. I think that is a great opportunity here, and as Brian mentioned, it's basically got storage on 4 wheels. I think as the technology advances, there's some real opportunity here from a vehicle to grid standpoint. Energy management, a lot about how we help customers understand when they can use our product at the appropriate time of the day, the most cost-effective time on the comfort and convenience that they need it. These vehicles come with a tremendous amount of technology in them, telematics, et cetera, and it's going to enable us to have that good two-way conversation with the customer. And last but not least, a big part of what we do is informing and educating and involving the customer. One of the big ahas that I have learned over the last probably 3+ years in this program is the customer, if you do not educate them as you go through this process, they have a huge fear of what we're doing. They have a huge uncertainty around what we're doing. They're afraid of what the cost impact's going to be. And so we spend a tremendous amount of time educating the customer. If you think about it, virtually everyone is in a vehicle, everyone is driving that vehicle, so what better way than to be able to connect with this technology? So it all comes together, we think, as a good catalyst with what's happening with these EVs. You've got good onboard information, you've got telematics associated with what we're doing, and it enables us to have that conversation with the customer. So, because at the end of the day, it's not about the utility controlling what the customer does, it's all about giving that customer control within a reasonable footprint of what they're actually doing, and we believe the PEV is actually one of those things that can do it. Thank you very much.